Most people can't answer basic questions about US geography, but get ready for 30 up-to-date geography revelations that will make you the smartest person in any room. Using the most current 2025 statistics and discoveries, I'm revealing geographical secrets that sound too strange to be true, but are completely verified. Take Alaska's mind-bending ability to simultaneously exist in both the eastern and western hemispheres, defying everything you think you know about compass directions. From states that break the rules of east and west to natural formations that contain percentages of the world's resources you won't believe, these facts will transform you into a geography expert who can amaze anyone with legitimate knowledge they've never heard before. Alaska's triple geographic crown. Here's a geography quiz that stumps 99% of people. Which single US state holds the record for being the northernmost, westernmost, and easternmost state all at the same time? This sounds completely impossible because basic compass directions should prevent any location from being both the easternmost and westernmost point of a country. The answer defies everything you think you know about American geography. Alaska accomplishes this seemingly impossible feat through a geographic anomaly that breaks all the rules. The key lies in the Aleutian Islands, a chain of volcanic islands that extends over 1,200 miles from the Alaska Peninsula into the Pacific Ocean. These islands stretch so far west that they actually cross the 180th meridian, which serves as the international date line separating the western and eastern hemispheres. Recent surveys confirm that several Aleutian Islands extend beyond the 180th meridian into the eastern hemisphere. Attu Island sits at coordinates 172.9 degrees east longitude, placing it technically in the eastern hemisphere alongside countries like Japan and the Philippines. This crossing of the international date line means Alaska exists in both hemispheres simultaneously, making it the easternmost state when measured by hemispheric standards. GPS surveys track slowly drifting island positions as geological activity continues to shift their exact coordinates. For travelers crossing between these islands, this hemisphere split creates the bizarre experience of jumping from Tuesday to Wednesday simply by moving between neighboring islands. Map makers face constant challenges updating charts, as these remote locations technically exist on different calendar days. Meanwhile, Alaska's northernmost point at Point Barrow reaches 71.38 degrees north latitude, and its westernmost point in the Western Hemisphere sits at Amatignac Island at 179.06 degrees west longitude. Alaska shatters every assumption about American geography by existing in two hemispheres while claiming three directional records. This geographic impossibility demonstrates how the international date line creates situations where traditional compass directions become meaningless. But Alaska isn't the only state that challenges our geographic assumptions with surprising continental connections. The Africa distance paradox. Which American state sits closest to the African continent? Most people automatically think of Florida because it extends far south toward the equator, or maybe they consider Texas due to its position along the Gulf of Mexico. The assumption makes perfect sense since Africa sits across the Atlantic from America's southeastern coast, and southern states should logically provide the shortest route across the ocean. The geographic reality completely contradicts this logical assumption. Maine, located in the far northeastern corner of America, actually sits closer to Africa than any southern state, including Florida. This counterintuitive fact emerges from mathematical proof using the most advanced 2025 satellite measurement technology available to geographers today. Current GPS coordinates place Quoddy Head in Maine at the exact eastern tip of the United States. Using 2025 precision mapping systems, scientists have calculated the distance from this Maine lighthouse to El Jadida, Morocco at precisely 3,154 miles across the Atlantic Ocean. These measurements utilize satellite positioning accurate to within centimeters, providing unprecedented precision for intercontinental distance calculations. Florida's distance to the same Moroccan coastal city tells a completely different story. Advanced 2025 mapping data shows that Miami sits approximately 4,025 miles from El Jadida, Morocco. This means Maine beats Florida by a substantial 871 miles when measuring the shortest route to African soil, despite Florida's obvious southern advantage. Because the Earth is round, east-west separation can outweigh north-south distance. While Florida extends much farther south and appears closer to the equator that runs through Central Africa, Maine's northeastern position places it significantly farther east. The African continent stretches much farther north than most people realize, with Morocco extending well above the Tropic of Cancer. The 871-mile difference between Maine and Florida demonstrates how spherical geometry creates unexpected geographic relationships that flat maps cannot accurately represent, proving that our planet's curved surface makes northeastern Maine America's gateway to Africa. These surprising continental connections reveal just how dramatically geography can challenge our assumptions about where Americans actually choose to live. America's lopsided population reality. The distribution of Americans across their vast continent tells an even more startling story about geographic influence on settlement patterns. Picture an imaginary line drawn across the American continent that reveals one of the most shocking demographic secrets about where people actually live in this country. This invisible boundary exposes a population imbalance so extreme that it challenges everything most Americans believe about their own nation's settlement patterns. The population divide line near San Antonio serves as America's ultimate demographic separator, running just west of San Antonio, Texas, and extending north through the Great Plains. This geographic marker splits the United States into two drastically unequal halves that tell the story of American settlement in stark mathematical terms. The 2025 census data reveals a population split that has remained remarkably consistent over recent decades. Current statistics show that 80% of all Americans live east of this San Antonio line, while just 20% occupy the western portion of the country. This enduring pattern demonstrates how historical settlement patterns continue shaping where Americans choose to establish their communities. Multiple geographic and historical factors perpetuate this eastward demographic pull. The eastern half contains the original colonial settlements that formed the foundation of American civilization. New York City houses 7.9 million residents in a densely packed metropolitan area, while Denver serves as a major western hub with significantly fewer people spread across much larger distances. These contrasting examples illustrate how eastern cities developed extensive infrastructure, educational institutions, and economic networks over centuries of continuous growth. Geographic obstacles continue limiting Western settlement despite modern transportation and communication advances. The western portion includes vast mountain ranges, desert regions, and protected federal lands that restrict large-scale residential development. National parks, forests, and wilderness areas occupy enormous territories that remain permanently off-limits to population centers. The staggering reality emerges that roughly 4/5 of the American continent remains virtually empty of permanent residents, making the United States one of the most demographically lopsided developed nations on Earth. This massive western expanse raises fascinating questions about exactly how much American territory has been deliberately preserved from development entirely. America's expanding protected empire. The federal government maintains direct control over a staggering amount of American territory through an organized preservation system that most citizens never fully grasp. The national park system represents something much larger and more complex than the handful of famous parks that appear on postcards and travel websites. This extensive preservation network encompasses every type of protected landscape and historical site imaginable, creating a comprehensive system that safeguards America's most important natural and cultural treasures. The 2025 count reveals that 423 areas now exist within the national park system, representing a continuous expansion of conservation efforts across multiple decades. This number includes traditional national parks alongside numerous other categories of protected land that serve different preservation purposes and management strategies. From national parks to seashores and battlefields, this network covers every corner of America. Current 2025 data shows the system has added several new designations and expanded existing boundaries over the past year, reflecting ongoing commitment to land preservation despite competing economic pressures. These recent additions include both natural landscapes and historic properties that meet strict criteria for national significance. This massive preservation effort represents one of the world's largest coordinated conservation programs undertaken by any single nation. These areas cover over 84 million acres, encompassing desert wilderness, mountain ranges, coastal areas, prairies, forests, and urban historic districts across all 50 states and several territories. The scope demonstrates enormous public engagement with these protected areas, supporting thousands of jobs in gateway communities while maintaining public access to these national treasures. Americans have dedicated an impressive portion of their continental territory to permanent preservation, creating a conservation legacy that protects natural wonders and historical sites for future generations. Yet even this massive federal preservation system pales in comparison to the natural resources contained within America's borders, including freshwater reserves that dwarf most people's understanding of what single geographic features can actually hold. Superior's freshwater monopoly. Lake Superior represents the crown jewel of this freshwater concentration, holding resources that dwarf most people's comprehension of what a single geographic feature can contain. Most people would guess major river systems like the Amazon or Nile when asked what holds the largest percentage of Earth's fresh surface water, or perhaps think about massive ice sheets in Antarctica. The reality involves a concentrated freshwater reservoir that sits entirely within North American borders, containing an almost unbelievable portion of the planet's available fresh water. The scale of freshwater resources concentrated in this one location defies comprehension when you consider how water scarcity affects billions of people worldwide. While entire continents struggle with limited freshwater access, this single body of water contains enough fresh water to supply human civilization for generations, representing a natural treasure of global significance. Lake Superior stands as the ultimate freshwater giant, serving as a massive reservoir that holds resources crucial to both regional ecosystems and global water security. This Great Lakes System component extends across 31,700 square miles of surface area, making it the largest freshwater lake by surface area in the world. The 2025 updated measurements using advanced satellite technology show that Lake Superior contains approximately 10% of the world's fresh surface water. This staggering statistic means that one American lake holds the same amount of fresh water as entire river systems, smaller seas, and countless lakes combined across other continents. Current satellite-based calculations reveal that Superior contains roughly 2,900 cubic miles of fresh water. These precise measurements utilize advanced monitoring technology that tracks water levels and volume changes with unprecedented accuracy, providing scientists with detailed data about this massive freshwater resource. Retreating glaciers at the end of the last ice age carved out Superior's massive basin through centuries of geological activity. These glacial forces created a depression so large and deep that meltwater from the retreating ice sheets filled it completely, forming the freshwater giant that exists today. One American lake rivals entire continents for freshwater storage capacity, demonstrating how geographic forces shape water distribution across vast territories. Yet this massive freshwater reservoir represents just one example of how geographic boundaries control the movement and destination of water across the American landscape. The Continental water splitter. Mountain ridges and elevated terrain create an invisible but powerful force that determines the fate of every raindrop across the continent. What geographic boundary controls whether precipitation will eventually reach the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, or Gulf of Mexico, based purely on which side of elevated terrain the rain happens to land? The Continental Divide represents this ultimate watershed boundary that has operated for millions of years without human intervention. This natural barrier consists of mountain ranges and elevated terrain, forming a continuous ridge system extending from Canada to Mexico, creating distinct drainage basins that channel water toward different ocean destinations through simple gravitational flow patterns. This ridge system directs water flow across vast distances through networks of rivers and streams that eventually reach different oceans thousands of miles from their mountain origins. Water falling east of the divide flows toward the Atlantic Ocean or Gulf of Mexico, while precipitation landing west of the ridge travels toward the Pacific Ocean through completely separate river systems. The 2025 updated mapping data from the U.S. Geological Survey utilizes advanced satellite technology and ground-based surveys to track the divide's precise route through the Rocky Mountains with unprecedented accuracy. These detailed maps reveal how the divide influences watershed management and water resource allocation across multiple states, providing essential data for understanding continental water distribution. Climate change has created measurable effects on water flow patterns along the Continental Divide, according to current research. Rising temperatures and altered precipitation patterns are changing the amount and timing of water flow, leading to increased runoff, modified river courses, and shifts in water resource availability that affect both ecosystems and human populations dependent on these water systems. The divide influences weather patterns and ecosystems by acting as a barrier that affects air mass movement and precipitation distribution. This creates diverse habitats supporting different plant and animal species on either side of the ridge, making the Continental Divide a critical factor in biodiversity and conservation efforts. Elevation changes measured in feet can determine whether water travels thousands of miles to reach completely different oceans, demonstrating how geographic forces create extreme environmental conditions in unexpected American locations. America's below sea level desert. These extreme environmental conditions reach their most dramatic expression in America's most unlikely desert location. What place in North America sits lower than sea level, while simultaneously being one of the hottest places on Earth? Most people assume that desert regions exist at high elevations where thin air and mountain conditions create extreme temperatures. The reality involves a geographic anomaly that defies basic assumptions about how elevation and climate interact in the American landscape. This location challenges everything you expect about American geography by combining below-sea level conditions with desert environments that produce some of the most extreme temperatures ever recorded. The combination sounds impossible because most people associate low elevations with coastal areas and moderate climates rather than scorching desert conditions. Death Valley's Badwater Basin represents this below-sea level phenomenon, sitting at a remarkable depression that creates unique environmental conditions found nowhere else in North America. This basin holds the distinction of being the lowest point in the Western Hemisphere, creating a natural laboratory for extreme geological and climatic processes. The 2025 updated elevation measurements using advanced GPS technology confirm that Badwater Basin sits at precisely 282 feet below sea level. These measurements utilize satellite positioning systems that provide accuracy within centimeters, ensuring precise documentation of this extreme elevation. The basin's position creates a natural bowl that traps heat and intensifies already harsh desert conditions. Geological forces created this dramatic depression through millions of years of crustal stretching and thinning in the region. Tectonic activity caused the Earth's crust to pull apart, creating a rift valley that continues sinking today. This process formed a basin so deep that it extends far below ocean level despite being located hundreds of miles from the nearest coastline. Current research shows that Death Valley continues experiencing subsidence, meaning the basin keeps sinking deeper. The 2025 climate data reveals record temperatures that regularly exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit during summer months. The basin's below sea level position traps superheated air that cannot escape, creating furnace-like conditions that make this one of Earth's most inhospitable environments. This extreme landscape demonstrates how geographic forces create isolated pockets of environmental extremes. Yet these dramatic features represent just individual points within America's vast interconnected system of natural waterways. America's massive river network. The scope of flowing water across America reaches dimensions that challenge human comprehension. What total distance would you cover if you could somehow walk along every single river and stream that flows through the United States? The scale of waterways crisscrossing the American continent creates a network so extensive that most people cannot grasp the actual mileage involved in this liquid transportation system. America's river network represents one of the most impressive hydrological systems on Earth, connecting every region of the country through an intricate web of flowing water. These waterways range from massive rivers like the Mississippi and Colorado to tiny mountain streams that flow only during spring snowmelt, creating a comprehensive system that touches virtually every corner of the continental United States. The 2025 updated count from the U.S. Geological Survey reveals that over 250,000 rivers and streams stretch approximately 3.5 million miles across the country. This staggering total represents a distance that equals roughly 14 round trips to the moon or 140 trips around Earth's equator, demonstrating the incredible scope of America's flowing water resources. Recent advancements in satellite mapping technology have significantly enhanced the precision with which scientists can measure river length and characteristics. These technological improvements enable more accurate assessments of river health and provide detailed data on river morphology, flow patterns, and surrounding ecosystems that were previously impossible to obtain through ground-based surveys alone. This vast river network supports diverse ecosystems ranging from wetlands and forests to prairies and mountains, providing habitats for countless species of wildlife, while serving crucial economic functions for agriculture, transportation, and freshwater supply. The Mississippi River Basin alone spans 1.2 million square miles and drains water from 41% of the United States, encompassing 31 states. The 2025 data on river health monitoring shows ongoing conservation efforts that address environmental challenges, including pollution from agricultural runoff and climate change impacts. The USGS actively monitors water quality, flow rates, and sediment transport while tracking how rising temperatures affect water levels and flow patterns across the entire system. These millions of miles of flowing water eventually reach America's coastlines, where the true scale of geographic measurements becomes even more surprising than most people imagine. Alaska's coastline dominance. Alaska's coastal measurements reveal dimensions that dwarf every other state's maritime boundaries combined. Which state possesses more coastline than you could possibly imagine? Most people think of California with its famous Pacific beaches or Florida with its Atlantic and Gulf coasts when considering extensive shorelines. The assumption makes sense because these states feature prominently in coastal tourism and maritime commerce, creating the impression that they dominate America's coastal geography. Alaska's coastal statistics reveal a geographic reality that completely overshadows every other state's shoreline measurements. This northern territory contains more oceanic boundary than seems mathematically possible for a single state, creating a coastal dominance that defies reasonable expectations about American geography. Alaska possesses more coastline than all other 49 states combined, a fact that sounds impossible until you examine the precise measurements. The state's oceanic boundaries stretch over 34,000 miles of intricate shoreline that winds through countless bays, inlets, and island chains across 3 different ocean systems.